Hello, friends. So I'll act as a discussant and make some points. The first is my own understanding of the relationship between a severe social civilizational crisis and a paradigmatic shift. And that is that the crisis acts as a catalyst for transition or transformation of society precisely because the problems that are generated by the crisis are so great and people cannot but seek real solutions, but no solutions are available within the existing paradigmatic framework. Once they realize that no solutions are available within the existing paradigmatic framework, they are forced into radical change. And they seek for a new paradigm. The old paradigm will be shattered. That's a historical process. That's a general model of it. When there's a lack of correspondence between the dominant ideational framework and its institutional frameworks and norms and the actual realities, the material realities of lived experience, this generates this sense that there must be a paradigmatic shift. I believe we are in that situation in terms of the point in global history to which our global civilization has now reached. We are in this crisis period where a paradigmatic shift is a historical necessity for human security and the survival of the species. So it couldn't be more acute in that sense. Historically, it's an unprecedented situation. There have been collapses previously, which we have been documented and so on, Jared Diamond collapse. But those are on limited regional scope. This is global because we have a global civilization and a unified material reality. And that's unique. We are moving from polis to cosmopolis. Yes, and you can take the whole long evolutionary perspective of 12,000 years since the last ice age. We can look at the various iterations of how we have evolved, but we are in the age of cosmopolis. And if you take globalization seriously, it means that we have to democratize a global governance system which prevents collapse. And that's a historical necessity for our species in this crisis. The externalities problem has been addressed. We have been, the paradigm that is dominant now is a false one. It's false economics. It's not real economics because of cheap this, cheap that, cheap resources, cheap labor, cheap energy. They are not cheap. They are only cheap within a false model. So that it's all about the story of stuff, which is online, it's all about that particular measurements of that particular cycle. Everything else that is thrown away, all the human damage, the environmental damage, everything else is not costed, has no price. This is a complete falsehood. So one of the paradigmatic shifts elements that is most essential is a real economics, in which there are no externalities of those kinds whatsoever. And all of the real costs have real prices and are in the model formally. And then they are acted upon by firms, by individuals, by countries, etc. That is radical, but that is also necessary because we've been living in an illusion of a false economic paradigm. Capitalcentrism is absolutely correct, I believe, and that the key question is how, especially in retrospect of the past 35 years or so of neoliberal economic globalization becoming ever more dominant paradigm, is that the types of ways in which you can reassert social control and democratic social control, collective control to rediscipline capital. Capital, in this conception, is not seen simply as a negative category, but a category of enormous potentials as well. And the question is, who controls the capital? And what's the nature of the capital? And how is it disciplined to behave within what framework? We have to rediscipline capital and place it back under social control, which is a democratic social control, which takes in consideration the interest of all of humanity, because we have a planetary foundation for our civilization. And our civilization is planetary. And there's only one biosphere. There is no planet B. And we have to therefore move to ways of that transforms the social role of capital in the future. This is central to the new economic paradigm. My favorite theory of the market, as far as free market is concerned, is an old one, which states that the freer, in inverted commas, the market is, what that actually does, since the market is an abstraction, and you have a whole variety of an uneven playing field of powerful actors and less powerful actors, strong and weak. And they are placed in a particular position at a particular time. And as you free the market, those who are already in possession of the greatest advantages will have those advantages strengthened. And those who are already in positions of weakness will have those weaknesses entrenched. This is what a free market paradigm does. So we have to make the argument that that is antisocial. That's antisocial behavior, to put it in a British phrase. And you need to have orders against antisocial behavior because it's so destructive. The public needs to have this lesson learned, that the state is not necessarily their enemy. Anti-statist ideology is not necessarily the way to freedom. In fact, it may be the way to the new serfdom. Absolutely contra to what the Hayekian position says. So this is something that is very profound in relation to how to rebut the doctrine of the free market or free market fundamentalism, which is a pernicious ideology, which is antisocial in its consequences. So the last thing I'd say is that all wealth is social. That's a reality. If you think about it beyond our normal categories of status quo thinking. We are social beings, and all of our wealth is derived from our own labor, our creativity, and from the web of life. I like this phrase as opposed to the phrase nature, because human nature dichotomy is one of our problems that we have to transcend. We are a species embedded in coevolution with the whole web of life. We're now in the Anthropocene, which in my view is a moral responsibility that human beings have as the most determinate actor amongst all the species on Earth to preserve all of the life on Earth. That's what the Anthropocene means to me. That's another goal in the new paradigm. So that requires a moral change, back to Smith's moral centrality. We are moral beings. We have responsibilities to others, including non-human others, including all of life. That we have to take this seriously, and that brings about a revolution. Thanks.